Hey guys, welcome everybody to another Hall of Fame interview. We have Kalicharan, who's a good friend. Thank you, Kalicharan, for coming on this. I really appreciate your time. Just a brief summary about his background. He's been for a long time in the ONGC oil and gas, space. I think close to almost a decade. And then he upskilled himself on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And now, interestingly, he sort of jumped to the pharma space. So without further ado, welcome again, Kali, and would love to know, your journey, your summary, etc., about your career, so that the audience can, really listen and learn, like I said, from your successes and also the ebbs.
Sure. Thanks, Jay, for having me here. So I think let's start with my journey. I think so far I've got 18 years of experience. So I think I'm in the mid-senior level, I could say. So how I started was I was with a company called as Intergraph initially. I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm not a computer science grad. So I'm a mechanical engineer who started off with a pretty much a software development company, but mainly focused on mechanical engineering domain. So we were building plants. So there was a lot of C++, COM, DCOM those days. Nobody recognizes those technologies anymore. I did that for considerable number of time. Then I moved on to service-based companies like Accenture. I worked for Accenture for 4 years. And I was not doing anything related to software development there. I was more of a domain expert. So I kind of left programming for almost 4 or 5 years. Then I moved into hardcore oil and gas, where my main responsibility was data management, which again means I was not doing programming. But again, I was understanding data management, and of course I had a background of programming, so that was always there in the mind, and I was missing it. And eventually, yeah, that's when I got myself into the AIML course. And then I shifted my domain, which was oil and gas before. Now I work for a healthcare pharma company. So yeah. Hey, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
that's like a really wide gamut of industry experience. And I started out also as a mechanical engineer, so some interesting parallels there.
Right.
Perfect, awesome. So, want to circle back to the focus of this discussion or interaction is really what got you to decide. Talk us a little bit about that time frame, if you can go back and recall. What made you trigger? What was it? What are the trigger points to get you into the AIML journey, to purchase the course, etc.? Was it you had like a thesis, you saw some leader, or was it an ad, etc.? What was the mindset just about 6 months before or 3 months leading up to that? Okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit myself. Uh,
Right.
for the 3-4 months. Can you talk about that, please?
So see, again, I mean, it was 4 years back almost. I was busy in my job. I was doing data management, which means managing data, schemas, metadata, and all of that. I was kind of bored with what I was doing because it was a considerable amount of time that I was doing it, and there's no inspiration of because you know it all after a certain level at your job. So I was doing that. Then, of course, there was a lot of media hype on data science. I mean, calling it as the hottest job of the 21st century. So that got me stuck. I was reading more about what this technology was and things like that. But again, I mean, once I saw examples of what it was doing, right? I mean, the automated cars, how they're recognizing the traffic signals, then I thought it is different. I mean, this is not something a Java could do. This is not something a C++ could do, right? So I didn't see it in terms of a technology, but more of a magic. Because for me, a machine trying to understand a traffic signal or trying to understand what was a dog or a cat, even though there were different breeds of dogs and cats, that was mind blowing. I mean, then I thought this was not something where you write rule-based programming and code and this is going to work. And this is very different, almost like magic. So I think that's the main reason which kind of got me attracted to it. So I wanted to learn something which was almost impossible to do in my days of programming with Java or C++. You can't write a program to recognize a dog or even recognize a traffic signal. You just can't. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember, the first time there was this chest X-ray sort of,
Yeah.
that's the standard data set even back then, 2 3 years ago. And
Correct.
you have bounding boxes, and you're able to say, positive or negative, the classification problem. That itself is,
Correct.
that's mind blowing.
Yeah, exactly. Because I come from a programmer's mindset
Yeah,
and to think, okay, how could I write a program to recognize a dog?
yeah,
And there's a lot of visual aspect to it, right? Computer vision, when you talk about it, there's a lot of visual aspect to it. That's why I think that's what kind of created an interest to, okay, let me try out and see what happened.
Yeah, the possibilities are amazing. So fantastic. So you really were fascinated by the technology, the potential, and the outcome, and that sort of drove you. That's
Correct. Yeah.
actually very rare. A lot of people don't actually generate passion, like that. Not that different people have different
Correct.
trajectories, how
Correct.
your
Yeah.
points are. But
Yeah.
that's very interesting. Okay, so perfect. And okay, so talk about a little bit on the mindset. So this is pre-course, and you've decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to take the course, etc. So then you start understanding, okay, the course requires, there are some prerequisites in terms of mathematics or probability statistics, and programming is something I'm sure you've done it, been there, but seems like you're a senior, so you probably were not hands-on in your job as well. So how did you deal with your resistances and your apprehensions before taking the plunge?
Yeah. So what I did, I didn't take an immediate plunge onto doing a course. So I had some time when I was working with the oil and gas company. So I started installing Python. There was a lot of online material on just to try and see, because the problem is, generally speaking, whenever you try to explore technology just because of hype, you are not sure whether you're going to like it or not. So I wanted to test the waters before I took a plunge in. So what I did was 6 months I dabbled with it. I failed terribly. I mean, they were like simple Python errors I couldn't solve. I mean, that was my case but I tried. I mean, I gave it a try. And then again, the inspiration was also to try to do something at work, because at work you're always judged by the automation that you do, the hours that you save, and right. So I was trying to put up cases saying that, hey, if you put AI, you could probably do this instead of 7 hours, you could do it in 20 minutes. So I think to put up those small POCs, I had to do kind of something which on my own background. So I think that's where I did my little bit of homework. I knew what classification was before I enrolled myself to a course. So the day when I attended my course, yeah, I mean, I've almost forgot my mathematical concepts, because whenever I learned derivatives or integrations in +2, I was like hating my teachers. Like, when in life would anybody use it? So there was this moment when I was doing this course, this final moment came in where dx by dy was actually impacting my life. So I think that was amazing. That was thrilling, because
Gradient descent.
yeah, gradient descent, right? So I always knew dy by dx as just a formula, but trying to exactly understand where it can be applied in your job as on today, that was exciting. I think those were the fundamentals. Of course, I mean, there's nothing like groundbreaking that I had to learn and prepare, but yeah, basics of programming and all mathematics that I already knew, but kind of having to refresh.
Okay. That's really interesting. Actually, many people, both seniors and juniors alike, kind of just get excited. They purchase the course and then they're struggling. It seems like you've got the reverse. You actually dated. You kind of
Yeah, exactly. Because see, I left technology, so I didn't know whether I would like it or not like it, and these courses are expensive. And before spending money, I just want to test the waters, and that's what I tell people when they come to me saying that, hey, are you sure you're going to like it? Just try it once. So. And I loved it. The moment I tried it, I was like, there were people moving around in my office, and I was showing them, hey, look at the water bottle. The camera is now recognizing it. So.
Well, also, it's actually so that's actually a very good strategy to like smoothly transition, in 6 months or 3 months before setting it up, doing all the pre-framing of the mind, etc. Then you start appreciating, classroom or like a community-based learning. So actually, I remember going back way back 2012 is the first time I took Andrew Ng's course and I didn't complete it. Like, it was an octave. So he was teaching gradient descent, etc., and then the hands-on was an octave. I was like, what is happening? So way back, I mean, a phenomenal course,
Right.
obviously still there, and it has millions, if not tens of millions of people doing it. But yeah, it's really difficult. And then I think you sort of need some intense commitment where you actually put in the money, etc., so that the money you expend is actually going to whip you to get into that commitment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. And okay, now, so definitely, the course is intense, etc. And I think you were also managing your day job along with this, the other commitment. Talk us a little bit about, your strategy, your plan, and most importantly, the sacrifices, the cost. So if you're learning something, there's always like either a personal cost, with your kids or your spouses, or maybe with your parents, or whatever the case might be. Talk us a little bit about that, because you have to spend long hours, and programming is an energy management business, right? You really
Correct.
can't be partying and get up in the morning
Correct.
and start
Correct.
programming. It doesn't happen. So one Python error
Right.
probably takes a lot of time to debug. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, it is, because it's almost been like 15 years since I left college. The aspect of doing a full time or being a whole day at a learning place was not something I'm used to at all. So, but I've spent 6 months, like every weekend, complete Saturday and complete Sunday. I was at the course, trying to learn and then try to struggle with those errors and then somehow make it work. But again, the fun of being with people was amazing. I mean, it was back, and then we were having fun, like discuss classification at a chai, and it was fun. And then we were also talking about, hey, now how are you going to apply classification at what you do? I mean, there was somebody who's coming from Wipro, there I was somebody who's coming from oil and gas, and then we're like, we used to discuss cases, and of course we were bad at writing code initially, because all we got were errors, but at least to understand the concept very well. I mean, the whole classroom thing really worked out. And yeah, I mean, which means the whole 6 months, I couldn't take kids out on a weekend, and that was a huge
Wow.
sacrifice for both my kids. So I think I shifted that to weekdays. And even there were like some assignments which I had to do, so they were like long hours I had to spend at office. Yeah, but it was fun. I mean, the whole journey kind of made me feel that, yeah, you are doing something like really right, because the more you learn the course, the more you see number of use cases which that can be done. So which kind of gave me confidence that whatever you're doing, this is definitely that's going to work. So that confidence kind of kept me going, even though, like, yeah, I mean, after 6 months I just realized, oh, 6 months, like so many weekends I just spent on this course. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's 26 weekends.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, right, right.
A lot of sacrifice. So this is actually something that a lot of people don't get.
Hmm.
When you benefit, you obviously have to pay a price for that as well, right? So
True, true.
it's impeccable. It's amazing that your spouse also supported you, etc.
True, true. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Now, in terms of so I know we interacted, post course, etc. I also knew that you almost had like the use cases or the proof of concepts, that you felt that could be solved during AI ML. So you're already thinking
Correct.
in the classroom, okay, you know what, this problem can be used here, this solution can be used here, this algorithm can be used here. So once you have a hammer, you're like Thor, you pretty much see everything as a nail. So talk us
Exactly. Yeah.
through about, some of the whatever is shareable use cases that you solved reasonably well or exceedingly well right after the coursework, maybe the next 1 2 years. Where did it help you, etc.? Maybe the top two use cases.
Yeah, see, again, I mean, one of the biggest change that the course has brought to me is my designation was called as engineering data manager when I joined the course. I mean, that's what my designation was, and all I was doing was manage databases. And then once I started presenting to the innovation council within my organization, saying that, hey, you could do this, I started winning funding. There's a lot
Wow.
of money that I won. I won funding for $50,000 across a period of 1 year on various ideas that I proposed to the
Wow.
Innovation Council, just to try out and then experiment. So eventually, I think 6 months after I did the course, my designation was Global Data Science Manager. I set up a data science team which had 6 people. I mean, four of them were interns, and two of them were like senior people who kind of just slided into this technology because they loved it. So there was no oil and gas company had a data science team before, and then our company was convinced that we got to invest in data science, and then we formed a data science team, and I was called a data science manager. So that was the greatest. I think people are surprised. I mean, where did you move from what to what? All because don't look for somebody else to throw in a project on your face from somewhere else, right? You create your own projects, because data science is such a lovely technology. It's unlike Java or C++, where you could fit that into anything that you're doing. If you're doing video editing, or if you're doing a media or oil and gas or anything, you could fit in a case wherein it's going to solve and then save time. So I showed the dollar savings, saying that if you adapt this, you're probably going to save this so many dollars. So I think that's the biggest impact. And all the 6 people right now are doing amazingly well with the data science career. It's like
Yeah.
everybody took off.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
guys, who listening to this on YouTube, that's phenomenal. So 6 months of sacrifice, 26 weekends, gives you, God knows, like 200, 300.
Oh yeah, no, the whole team made careers out of it, and they're like, yeah. So it was great.
That's phenomenal. I remember, one or two use cases that you shared. One was the helmet, that's safety and compliance, and the other one
Correct.
was this. I think
The
this,
drawing.
yeah, drawing of the. I think
Mm.
some Middle East.
Correct. There was this mining drawings which we
Yeah,
got from Kazakhstan,
yeah, because like,
wherein they wanted to analyze like hundreds and thousands of those drawings, where they were trying to check for the mineral deposits based on the kind of indication on the drawing.
yeah,
So we actually use computer vision in order to like use OpenCV and to cut them into blocks, and then
wow,
classify whether this block is a charcopylite or a bromite.
wow.
Yeah, that was like very basic at the time. If I did it now, it will be completely different, but we still did it. And then we used data science in order to make data out of unstructured papers. So yeah, that's something which we did at the time.
That's tremendous because two things. One is, for me, I've never seen many people apply, data science in use cases and get a great ROI. And the
Right.
emphasis on ROI, because a lot of people. So first off, data science differs from web development. Like somebody who's upskilled on web development can go and make an app right away. Here, the ratio is much lesser. And B, this is one of the most bizarre, not bizarre, but interesting creative use cases I've ever found. Because like I said, I've seen it in X-rays, MRI, CT scans. I've seen it in traffic. The ANPR is a very solved problem.
Correct.
But
Correct.
somebody in Kazakhstan and the oil drilling and that's like in a very old paper that looks like like
Yeah, it was like the 1970s, or I'm sure nobody who drew it are alive at this moment. So we had to actually use OCR in order to get their handwriting. So I mean, the traditional OCRs were not working. So in
wow,
fact, we even tried to develop an OCR based on that guy's handwriting, what he's
wow.
made for some time. So it was super fun trying to work for it, and we learned a lot during the process.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. So one of the things I always kind of tell learners and students in my community or elsewhere, wherever I had the opportunity to teach, is look for interesting use cases. I mean, people constantly do the usual Iris data set, the usual like Titanic data set, but there's tremendous amounts of opportunity, even publicly available. Probably this Kazakhstan was a lot more private, but there's tremendous amounts of
Correct.
data streams coming out, a little bit of
Correct.
processing, a little bit of investment in data munging, data aggregation, and you can make like an amazing use case, right? So that's what I keep pushing, and this is one peculiar thing that always caught my eye.
Yeah, because I personally think people don't associate data science with automation. They think automation is RPA, but ideally data science is automation on steroids. So any automation course you look at, you could automate it way better than what you could do with RPA right now. And any business organization loves automation. Any work that you do can be automated using AI. I mean, that's what computer vision or NLP is about, right? So I think we should kind of inspire people to start looking for automation use cases, not just like somebody gives you an Excel data and then you try to build a prediction algorithm.
Yeah, that's actually a very good insight because again, a lot of people know, first level of insight here is that companies like UiPath, Automation Anywhere, who are probably in the tens of billions in valuation, etc., actually have data science as one of the core steps right now. Right now, they make their own OCR readers, handwriting readers, invoice readers, fraudulent case readers, etc. So the tremendous amounts of opportunity there as well. Yeah. Yeah, so just want to focus a little bit. I know that so we've looked at some use cases. Now I know that you were also on the market, having a unique advantage in seeing both sides. One is you interviewed as well, and you obviously by position of your seniority, you also interview or you have access to candidates. You see that. What are some of the common mistakes people make, and what are some of the strategies that you would recommend, both for seniors or juniors leaders? Recurring top 2 or 3 insights there.
I mean, to do an interview well or to get hired? No.
Both. Like one is I know that you sat for a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah, right. So I'll try from. I mean, I'll talk about like trying to apply as a for a data science position, right? So primarily, I think because one of the biggest misconception is people think if you have done a course and then you put a certificate out there, there are like thousands behind you trying to hire you. Unfortunately, that is not the truth. We've got so many people who have got certifications and then have done the course. But the reality is, along with the certification, you just have to build a profile.
Yeah.
Like a resume building is a skill. how are you going to build the resume? I mean, anybody who's trying to judge you is only trying to say how practical are you? I mean, are you only giving reading out definitions? Because if you're attending interviews, I mean, today, at least in today's times, they're gone on the days where people are going to ask you about, okay, tell me about difference between decision tree and then the other tree. So I think all the interviews these days are focused on projects. What have you done? Okay, how are you building the pipelines? So it's very important to understand the pipeline of data, like where the data comes in. How do you clean? Because 70% of the time, anyways, you spend on cleaning the data. So I think those are where the questions comes in. Like, what are your strategies for cleaning data? And then what are your strategies to deploy the model?
Yeah.
Right now, everybody thinks that, okay, building a model is the end of a data science project, but deployment is a whole new case. So once you deploy, how do you manage the continuity of the deployment? How do you manage the continuous learning? So the focus today, in today's times, in today's interviews, are more about, okay, now that, okay, we all understand that you could build a machine learning model, but how are you going to manage it? Like how do you introduce agile and scrum for data science? How are you going to do it differently, especially for senior folks that I'm talking about? And mostly for younger folks, I think below 12 years of experience, it's going to be a programming round. I mean, they are going to give you a use case, and they're going to ask you to build a chatbot, or they're going to ask you to build a classification model. And that's how you get in, because not being practical about data science is not something which is going to help. And we should remove the misconception that course is going to be it all. So we got to really get hands on.
Yeah. Perfect. And this is an interesting segue where I can spend some time on the freshers, or like you said, less than 10 years. The idea is, they say, it's like a catch-22. Like, unless we get the job and do something on the job, you can't build your resume. And conversely, the employer is looking at, like, hey, why didn't you do something independently? And this is where I think I would nudge and encourage, everybody. There's plethora of data out there. You can do something on cricket. You can do something on cryptocurrency. There's so much public data out there. Please do something independently. And like Kali said,
Correct. See, even if I say I have done a course and I have participated in so many Kaggle competitions, right?
yeah,
I would still trust that guy. Unfortunately, what people think is project is what they've done in their organizations.
yeah,
But even if my resume list said, okay, this is my course, and after this course, I've done so many Kaggle competitions, I would love to interview that guy and talk to. So that is something which people are missing. I mean, you can create your own projects.
perfect. Yeah. That's actually very good advice. A Kaggle competition, because competitions also give that sense of urgency and deadline, and
Yeah, exactly.
designed for, like, if you're.
Right. It's not about winning the competition, but it's about, I understand a problem and I could do something about it. And then building a GitHub repository, right? People who are not putting a GitHub link on their resumes, I mean, forget you being called in for an interview, because everybody who's interviewing you is actually looking at the way you write code, right? I mean, they're looking at how are you going to comment. This is more important than what you're going to speak. So I think building a nice GitHub profile is also very important for a data scientist.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, that guys, whoever's listening to this, that's gold. Just start building your GitHub profiles and Stack Overflow comments. I don't know if that's applicable. Kaggle ranks, etc. Kaggle is again grandmaster and other elements to it. So please start building that. They're not looking at the resume anymore. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's more practical, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, now perfect. So next, just want to talk a little bit about. So you've had the privilege. I mean, being at the leadership, you've also almost crafted a new data science team, both cross-border, India and United States. So you've shaped, in some ways, at your previous companies, or probably are doing it right now, leadership thought, AI leadership thought, AI infusion, or data engineering. Probably also a nice, interesting segue to big data. How are the leaders thinking about it, and what are the competencies they're building? What are the capabilities they're building, and how should youngsters fall in line accordingly, or mid-level managers?
Correct. See, I think that right now, from based on my experience, what I've seen is the organizations are not yet like they are not the factories like people assume, churning out one model after the other. That's not happening at this moment. I think everybody is trying to understand. Okay, we know this technology. We are going to hire data scientists, but more important is how are we going to gather data? That's been the bigger problem. People think that, I mean, whatever data is data, it's not true, because I mean, the data in today's organizations is not even in the FAIR principles, right? Findable, accessible, interoperable, and repeatable. So that is the basics of gathering your data. And then industry is still at this moment trying to struggle, hire data engineers and data architects in order to build a data lake or data warehouse. I think these are very basics before you start even like cranking the engine. I mean, so I think that is what is happening right now. So the thought leaders are all about trying to make a 5-year plan on how are we going to make this pipeline accessible for data scientists. So data scientists are like the cherry top on the icing on the cake, right? Eventually. So the focus is more on trying to channel the data from multiple sources. So understanding that as a data scientist also is very important, because you are going to be critical input in when you join a team, and then you are going to give an input saying that, hey, let's bring this data this like this, and then this is the processing pipeline. This is what I'm going to do. And these kind of inputs are going to be really helpful. And people what data scientists should really understand the how data pipelines are built and how large cloud platforms are being adopted. I mean, you're not going to like install Anaconda and then start working, right? So how can you adapt a platform like AWS or Azure in order to work for bigger organizations? I think that's the thought process these days, primarily.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting segue to the next question, in that a lot of people don't focus on deployment. I
Yeah.
mean, like the sexy thing is obviously, model building, like you said, decision trees or XGBoost, or, some convolution networks, recurrent networks, LSTMs.
Hmm.
It's like batting, like in cricket, and all of us love batting.
I think, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they hate the unsexy things, like bowling, fielding. So, which is the data pre-processing and the cloud deployment piece, which is what I've seen. So, so
Correct.
interesting to me that your insight is sort of corroborating that. Also, want to talk a little bit. Like I said, the segue to the next question would be, what would you recommend youngsters? What is that one takeaway message on what to focus on and what not to focus on, especially in terms of how you see the next 3 years or 5 years in terms of AI? Where is the industry heading, and how should accordingly a fresher or a complete newbie focus on, what not to focus on?
Correct. See, that way I would recommend people to focus on full stack development, right? Because gone are the days you develop an algorithm from scratch, right? Everything is available on GitHub. I mean, even if you want to write code for deep learning, it won't take much time to scrape a PyTorch code and then put in your model is
Yeah.
built. So we are not going to build, spend more than 10 or 20% of the time in actually building models or tuning parameters. But with the need of industry, you are getting more opportunities if you are somebody who's going to build a model, who's going to deploy it, package that into a Docker, deploy that onto a cloud, and learn the front end like Node.js and Flask or Django, these kind of thing, and be able to do a full stack troubleshooting of where it goes.
Yeah.
That is going to really help, because I think a data scientist is not going to have a 24 8-hour job of just trying to build algorithms. That is not true. But as long as you can prove yourself that you can be a full stack developer knows the backend, knows scripting, knows the UI, there you're going to score great points, and people would love to hire full stack developers in today's time. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, and we have that at our brand, at our coursework right now.
Oh,
So
great.
if those listening to that, the focus is on full stack, because I've seen that with my other startup, where people say that, like I said, they're good in batting, but they don't know anything about bowling and fielding. But you win only
Ah,
moments when you have batting plus bowling plus fielding. And the natural proclivity is not to do that, right? Everybody likes sexy, shiny objects. They don't like the boring. They don't like the mundane. But folks,
correct.
listen to Kali, become a full stack, data scientist. Perfect.
At least show some efficient show some interest towards that full stack development, right? If you say, okay, somebody is building HTML and CSS, oh, I've got no idea about CSS, that won't work, because at least need to be curious to see, okay, what is CSS doing and what is HTML doing. And that's what it's going to get you more jobs. And even companies are trying to save money, right? And they're not going to hire 4 people to do the job where one full stack developer can do it for you. So
Yeah. No, again, I completely agree with you in that I face this issue increasingly, and it's two things. One is there's this aversion to even picking up to listening what the employer wants, and there's this sense of entitlement, like, okay, I just know batting, so I'm going to only do that. Your JD is wrong. Your ask
correct.
for the hour is wrong. I mean, the ask for the hour is always survival, right? Can you go out?
Exactly. Yeah. And you're paid well. I mean, full stack developers are paid well. I mean, really well compared to, they probably paid 2 people summed up. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kali, for coming to this, guys. And whoever's like this, just please comment. YouTube algorithms work well because they, you can, if you comment, it starts becoming viral, etc. Please share, comment, and anybody else who wants to get in touch with Kali, I would request you, probably if he's open to it, connect on LinkedIn or wherever he is. Find out, hustle and find out his email.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and maybe
Correct.
if there's a good fit, he can probably hire you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.